Hey guys, welcome to F9 TV. I'm JXL. So on this episode, we're going to be looking at this game week that's just gone by. Game week 3, I believe it is in the Premier League. Some teams it's game week 2, especially for the teams that all played in the latter stages of European competitions. So we're just going to go through sort of the games, the results, my opinions, my thoughts on it. Make sure to like and subscribe. So we're going to start off with the first game. The most entertaining game I'm going to say of the weekend had to have been Leicester City versus Man City. Leicester ended up winning that game 5-2. This game was a madness. This game was a sheer madness purely because Manchester City gave away 3 penalties in this game. I kid you fucking not. 3 penalties they gave away in this game. So I've come to a conclusion. That Manchester City defenders all hate Pep. They have to hate Pep because it doesn't make any sense why they defend the way that they defend, because it's either incompetence or a sheer utter will to get this man fired. Because I don't understand how a Premier League team, especially a previous 2-time champions, one of the best Premier League teams we have seen in however many years the Prem's been alive, I don't understand why they constantly still defend the way that they do. To give away 3 penalties is first off, a utter joke. But more importantly, all 3 of those penalties, all were pretty much similar incidents that happened. It was just a ball in behind the defenders and they either ended up pulling on the man or taking them down with like their feet colliding. It was just utterly embarrassing. Honestly, Eric Garcia, Carl Walker, Benjamin Mendy, you should all have your heads in shame. Obviously, congratulations to Leicester. They played a really good game. They sort of sat back in the early stages of the game looking to hit them on the counter, and it pretty much happened. And then as the game grew, they grew in confidence and they became the better team towards the end of that game. And truthfully, they deserved winning the game 5-2. Goals coming from Jamie Vardy. He got a hat-trick, 2 penalties, and an absolutely sublime goal that he ended up scoring himself. Honestly, at 33 years old, Jamie Vardy is nuts. Like, the stuff that he's doing at 33 years old is nuts. Like he is one of the Prem greats. And I know a couple of you people out there are trying to drag his name with Drogba and stuff like that. I hear you. I'm here for the agenda. But honestly, Jamie Vardy, it's amazing the things that he does at 33 years old. I really need to bring him back into my FPL team. I need to find a way to get him back into my FPL team. But yeah, so he was absolutely amazing during that game. Other goals come from James Maddison, who came off the bench to score a cracker himself. And then the 3rd penalty was tucked away by Yuri Tillemans. But yeah, overall, it was an abysmal performance by Pep Guardiola's team. I think they've lost now 10 games in their last 38, which isn't really a really good look for them. They need to strengthen that defensive department. They need to strengthen it immediately. Now, I know that Ruben Diaz from Benfica is coming into the club. So hopefully that will help them sort of strengthen in that department. Not to like have any negative things to say about the signing, but for me, just from what I've seen, what I've sort of heard, and just from knowledge of sort of how defenders who come from the Liga NOS into the Premier League, it doesn't always tend to work out the best. So I don't necessarily think this is a game-changing centre back acquisition. I don't think this is a game-changing centre-back signing. The same way I don't believe Nathan Ake is a sort of game-changing centre-back signing either. But hopefully, well, not hopefully, I hope it doesn't work out for them. But we'll see in it. I'm not going to try and judge their new signings too early. I think for me, when we did the Premier League prediction show, which I think is on there. So when we did the Premier League prediction show, one of the reasons why I said Liverpool, I have my money on them possibly winning the league again, as opposed to City, because I felt like their biggest weakness they didn't address. So I felt like I think left back is a weakness for me. I don't know what's happened to Benjamin Mendy, but he's just not the same defender. I think left back is the biggest weakness. Centre back is a weakness. Now I know they bought Aki and they just bought Ruben Diaz. Like I said, I'm not necessarily convinced that is that game-changing of a CB acquisition. I think if they have somebody like Koulibaly, maybe I'll kind of respect it a bit more. But we'll see. I could be proven wrong. I could be completely dead wrong about those two. But that's just for me. I felt like CDM, like obviously Fernandinho is getting older, and they did bring in Rodri last year. But for me, like Rodri being able to keep the ball and pass it sideways and like 5-yard passes here and there, doing his little pass completions, for me is not the same thing that Fernandinho does, bro. When Fernandinho is his best, one of the best games I've ever seen like a CDM have here is Liverpool versus Manchester City. I want to say 2 years ago when we finished the season with 88 points. That performance that he had in the middle of the park was nuts, and I just could never see someone like Rodri having that kind of performance in him. Obviously, he's a completely different player, but I just think they should have, in that position, should have brought a much more Fernandinho-esque type of player. And also, they've lost Leroy Sané. Now, I know they've brought in Ferran Torres. Now, for me, with Ferran Torres, I'm not going to judge him again, but I don't think he's of the level of a Leroy Sané, or he'll get to that level of what Leroy Sané is. So for me, they have downgraded in that position now. So I just think their weaknesses are there. They're slightly not as strong as they were attacking wise. Now obviously Sane wasn't there last season. They still scored a nuts amount of goals. But I just think overall Sane is a game changer, and I don't believe Ferran Torres is a game changer. And I think that's just the difference. I think that is the issues with Man City that will be moving forward. Alright, so let's next touch on today's game, Monday night's game, which was Liverpool versus Arsenal. Liverpool were 3-1 victors in this game. Now watching it was a bit mad because I was wondering, because everybody Liverpool, we haven't beaten Arsenal in our last 2 meetings with them. Now one is a glorified friendly, which is the Community Shield, and the other one was a game which really to us was very meaningless, except for like a sense of pride, and we ended up losing that game purely because of like players just not being with it towards the end of that season, not necessarily because we were outplayed or anything. So going into this game, I wasn't necessarily worried about sort of Mikel Arteta and Arsenal, even though I think obviously everybody can see that the team has improved and all of that other stuff, but I necessarily wasn't all that worried about them. So going into this game, I think the way Arsenal set up for me was a bit mad, and like I get it to an extent, and I get that you don't want to come up against the champions and go gung-ho and meet them like for like, but the way they just sat back to me was like a team like in the lower half of the table. Like you just park the bus, let Liverpool have the ball. I think we had something like after 45 minutes, we had something like 70% of the possession of the ball against Arsenal. Like Arsenal, dog, even Arsenal at their worst. Like even Arsenal towards like the end of the Wenger era, you're getting 70% possession from them. And Arsenal had like 2 touches in the box, in the opposition's box in 45 minutes. Like, what? So at halftime, the game was 2-1. Arsenal did take the lead with an error from Robertson. Completely misjudged the cross. Ended up putting essentially on the play for Lacazette, who ended up scoring. And then we took the lead ourselves with Sadio Mane with a little tap in after Salah completely destroyed Kieran Tierney at left back. And then Robertson himself, to make up for the mistake, he got at the end of one of the trench crosses, nice little chest, and then just puts it in, which went into halftime 2-1 lead, which for me was a very deserved lead because we were absolutely the better side throughout the whole 45 minutes. Arsenal honestly had nothing to offer attacking wise to us. I think Aubameyang ended the game with something like 0 shots. Like 0 shots. That's the marksman, and there's a part of me that can't even blame him because the style of play, it was simply a case of we wait until Liverpool make errors. or like he tried to transition as quickly as possible. But generally, we'll wait. If they make errors, we'll pounce on it. And then we made that one error, they scored from it. But besides that, we didn't really make too many errors. In the second half, Arsenal did have an opportunity to tie the game. Lacazette was put through 1-on-1. I think we played with obviously a really high line, and Trent was just slacking on that high line and coming out. And then Lacazette was through 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. Alisson Becker was big, had his arms out, and then Lacazette essentially just hit the ball at his arm and he saved it. Which the game carried on. And then substitute Diogo Jota, he got his first ever goal for Liverpool. Certain man at Stamford Bridge, they're 3 games and they ain't scored. But young Shota, he already has 1 goal. I'm just going to keep it at that. But yeah, it was really good to see Diogo Jota get on the score sheet. He had like 3 chances in like 10 minutes of play or something dumb like that, like 10-15 minutes of play. He had like 3 really good chances to score a goal, and I'm glad that he did, because he had another like little bit of a chance just before this goal went in where I don't know what crack Salah was on. Like, obviously we all like Salah, innit? And like his desire and his willingness to get goals are always a positive, and that's what gets him the amount of goals that he does. But this time was just pure like selfishness, and I think like if that was Mane on the pitch, Salah's not doing that. He's not doing that, and I think it's because his Jota, he felt like he could do it. Like, I think it was just a cross, and then he's running onto the ball, but Diogo Jota's already there. Like, the ball is coming to him. All he has to do is just take a touch and hit it. And Salah, for some reason, stretches out with his leg and knocks the ball away. And obviously, we lose the opportunity. It was genuinely a selfish piece of play. But you know what? Jota got his goal. We ran our 3-1 winners. 3 games, 3 wins. I'm very happy. With the win, we've got Arsenal and Chelsea out of the way very early on in the season. We look good, man. We look good. Like, I wasn't happy after game week 1. And can I just say, Leeds actually brought a fight to us instead of Arsenal. And I think, obviously, Arsenal have more quality than Leeds do. And it's just something to ponder on. Like, what would have actually happened if you tried to take the game onto us? But obviously, after game week 1, I wasn't all that happy. Then we went out, we bought Jota, we bought Thiago, and I think the march to 20 is on. Another game of the weekend was Man United versus Brighton. This game finished 3-2. Now, this game, Brighton, by the way, completely played Man United off the park. Gareth Potter has them playing really good football, and I like a lot of Brighton players. I love Tariq Lamptey. But he's in my FPL team. I had him in my FPL team from game week 1 because I know that kid's a problem. Like, he's a problem. So I like Tariq Lamptey. I like a lot of their players. I like Ben White. I like Lewis Dunk. I think Lewis Dunk he's a player that can play for possibly a bigger side. So I like Lewis Dunk a lot. I like Yves Bissouma. He didn't even play in this game, but he's a good player as well. And I like Neil Maupay. So they have like a decent little squad about them. And yeah, so they completely played Man United off the park. Started off with, they got a penalty, so they went 1-0 up. And then I think shortly afterwards, an own goal by Lewis Dunk. And then Rashford with a beautiful solo effort, he put them 2-1 up. And then in the 90th minute, Solly March, he scored to make it 2-2. Now, I was watching this game and it went 2-2. There was like a corner to Man United, and then it was cleared off the line, and then the whistle blew. And then I walked away to go make a sandwich, and I come back to my room and Fernandez is taking a penalty and he scores the penalty, and I was completely baffled. So obviously they watched it back, VAR, and they determined that was a penalty, and they restarted the game. I didn't know you can restart games. I genuinely had no idea that is a thing that you can do. I thought the final whistle meant the final whistle, but apparently you can restart a game, which meant that Man United won 3-2. They kind of got away with that one. But yeah, Man United have not looked that great these first 2 games that they've played. Now, granted, they haven't had much of a pre-season, so you have to take that into account. But it's just sort of, this is Ollie's second season now, and I'm still not seeing anything of sort of a style or a pattern of play from him, and it's just a case of individual brilliance. Another game where Paul Pogba, what's his name? Paul Pogba, or should we call him Pandemic P, way off P, and like another horrible game by him. He was bad this game, bro. I don't understand how you're getting bossed by Adam Lallana with one leg. Like, he was bad this game. Bruno Fernandes was horrible, but once again, he stat padded a penalty and one Fugazi assist. If that the ball was beautiful to Rashford to open up that space, but the Rashford did way too much for that to be considered an assist and a penalty. Stat padding merchant. He can't keep getting away with this. So yeah, Man United and the front three really weren't working all that well. Anthony Martial was pretty much anonymous throughout the entire game. Yeah, Man United got like a week until the transfer window closes. They've got to bolster that side, man. They've got to bolster that side, and they've got to get a new manager. Just keep it at that. And another game from the weekend was, this game wasn't really like the funnest game in the world, but genuinely, I think it has the entire footballing world, Premier League world, sort of ablaze with controversy. The Tottenham and Newcastle game. Now, in the Tottenham and Newcastle game, Tottenham was pretty much winning the whole game, and then Newcastle got a last-minute penalty from a handball. Now, I'm one of them people, I like to start agendas, I like to, back aside that's not the norm, purely because it's more fun for me to argue. But even me, myself, I've watched this handball call several times, and I have no idea how this could be given as a handball. Now, I know the law on handballs haven't changed, and they're just interpreting it a certain way. That referees can't just have there can't be a grey area to what handballs are, and it can't just be a case of what you interpret handball or ball to hand. But honestly, I think this decision by them was utterly ridiculous. If a player is jumping up to go header a ball, right, and he has his back to the ball, and his arms are in the air because he's in the air, he's jumping. Like, you can't, it's not, that BBC One screen where them Fs are just jumping up and down like that. That's not how, you can't jump like that. So if you're jumping up and down, so he's jumping in the air to header the ball, and then Andy Carroll headers the ball onto his hand. How that could be deemed as a handball? Like, he had nothing to do with that ball touching his hand. Like, his hand was in an unnatural position because he's jumping in the air. Like I don't get it, and I think it's a bit mad. I think they need to look at that, because that's a little bit mad. Because if that's me and that's my team, and that's like a point that genuinely will cost us. Like, imagine that's a Champions League semi-final or something. Imagine that's a Champions League semi-final, and that happens. I'd be livid. I'll be losing my shit. So I understand why the Tottenham fans are a little bit annoyed about it. And I think, yeah, the Prem need to have a look at that, because that's a bit of a mazine. Like, I've seen other ones from previous weekends and this weekend. There was one for, I think it was Everton versus somebody. I can't remember whoever they were playing. But there was one for Everton, and I was like, you know what, that's a bit of a mad one, but it is what it is. Like, I'm not too mad at that. And obviously there was the Neil Maupay one for Brighton versus Man United. Once again, I was like, but he is jumping. But at least when the header's happening, like, he's positioned where the ball is. Not that the ball is behind you because you're in the air and it hits your arm. It's a mazine. I think it's a madness. I think they need to look at that handball rule. It's absolute madness. That cannot happen to my club. I'd lose my shit. It just cannot happen to my club. So yeah. Alright. So another result from the weekend was Chelsea versus West Brom. This game ended up finishing 3-3. West Brom took the lead. They went up 3-0. 27 minutes, they were 3-0 up against Chelsea, which is very mad. It's very, very, very mad. So the first goal, I think, came from just a very loose header by Marcus Alonso. And then Callum Robinson, I want to say his name, Callum Robinson. He ended up tucking away. It was a pretty good shot. And then the second goal came from Thiago Silva mistake. He kind of just like dilly-dallied on the ball. Callum Robinson in again to make it 2-0 into like a set piece play that Carl Bartley made it 3-0 after 27 minutes. And then obviously in the second half, Lampard made some changes. And then goals from Mason Mount, Callum Hudson-Odoi, and Tammy Abraham managed to bring up to 3-3, make it seem a little bit more credible. But honestly, this performance by Chelsea and sort of Frank was a bit embarrassing. Now, I'm at a point. So last season, at the beginning of the season, I gave Frank a lot like credit for a kind of sort of style that he was trying to implement. As the weeks have gone on and now into this week, I don't think there is a style. There's not a style. Once again, there's not a pattern of play. Frank doesn't even fully know what his best 11 is. Now I know certain of their new signings are still out and still need time to gel and get into the team. But it's like, I don't even think if they do come in, Frank will know exactly what he wants to do with them or where he wants to play them. And he's a very reactionary manager, I've noticed from Frank Lampard. He's very reactionary. There's never like a sense of consistency besides Mason Mount's playing every game, but there's no sense of consistency. Like for 1 week, for example, game week 1, Ruben Loftus-Cheek is good enough to play and play as a number 10. Game week 2, he doesn't even make the bench. Game week 3, he doesn't make the bench again, and I'm hearing that he's going on Aston Villa on loan. How was he good enough to start game week 1, but 2, 3, and now he's not even good enough to play for the club in general? I don't get that. And then obviously you have the whole Kai Havertz thing. Game week 1, he's playing on the right wing. Game week 2, he's playing as a false 9. And game week 3, he's playing as a 10. Like, this is a new signing, right? He's a new signing. How is he playing in 3 different positions, 3 league games? Like, I don't understand how. Like, he's a player that's still like learning the system, learning his teammates, learning how you're going to play, but you have him doing like multiple different things in just 3 games. Like, also Timo Werner, he started up front in game week 1, game 2 and 3, he's playing on the left wing. Now I know he's played left wing before for Germany and RB Leipzig, but honestly his best position is up top. Like, and I'm guessing that's what you bought him for, to play him up top. Like, I don't think you bought him to play him left wing, because that's Pulisic's role. And it's like you have players, stop trying to fit players into these different positions that they're just not meant for. Like, Mason Mount, I can't even imagine how many positions that kid takes up a game. Like, he plays so many positions, on the right, on the left, as a CM, as a 10. Like, honestly, at one point, a right back probably. Like, he plays so many positions. I don't get it. There's no understanding of what it is exactly these players need to do or where they need to be on the pitch. It's proper confusing. I'd be confused if I was a Chelsea fan. Like every week, I don't know what it is that we're gonna do, or how it is that we're gonna play, who's gonna be in the starting lineup. There's just a sense of a confusion because you have players that can play in certain roles. So you have somebody like Callum Hudson-Odoi. He can play on the right, he can play on the left, but he's not starting any of these games, and you're shoe fitting other players into those positions. That's not their natural position. Another thing was just in this game, he made Thiago Silva captain, and I know his reasoning, and it was a perfectly understandable reasoning to have Thiago Silva as captain. He has a lot of experience. He is a natural born leader. He's led PSG to several titles. He's been captain of his national side. So it's not that I don't understand why he didn't get the captain's armband, especially if you're not starting Aspilicueta or Jorginho. It's fine. The problem is to have a captain in his first ever game who cannot speak the language, and your team is 3-0 down after 27 minutes. There's no one on that pitch as a captain that can galvanize those players because your captain doesn't speak the language. And it's just those small little things. I genuinely think it's just them small little things are going to be the difference between like Frank possibly like having a successful tenure as a Chelsea manager. Now, obviously, at the beginning of the season, he still has time. He still has certain players to come back to get it all together. Other results is Leeds end up winning. They won 1-0 against Sheffield United. Sheffield United haven't won a league game yet since the restart. which is a bit unfortunate. But Leeds United, they are what, 6 points now out of 9. They're looking like a real Prem side. They look like they know exactly what it is that they came to do. And it's really refreshing. I'm rooting for them. My boy Patrick Bamford, he got on the score sheet again. I put him in my FPL team. He is absolutely cooking. But yeah, Leeds United, they're looking good. Wolves lost to West Ham 4-0. I don't know what the fuck happened to Portugal FC, but nobody should be shipping in 4 goals to West Ham United. Nobody. That's embarrassing. Nobody should be shipping that many goals to West Ham United. And other games, Aston Villa won 3-0 versus Fulham. Everton, they carry on winning. They won 2-0. That's 9-9 for them. They won 2-1 to Crystal Palace. All right, guys, thank you very much for tuning into this episode of the Game Week Recap. Catch you again next week for another one of these recaps. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'm going to try to put more content out on this channel. We'd love to raise the subscriptions. That'll be massively appreciated. So if you can like, subscribe, leave a comment, ratata, you know them things there. So that would be very, very, very much appreciated. Bless up and thank you.